7 police officers are being investigated over video footage showing them beating up a handcuffed pro-democracy activist in a dark corner of Tamar during a crackdown on protesters last night.
The shocking footage has sparked public outrage, and while the officers have been transferred to other duties, many are demanding their immediate arrest.
The police force has promised a full and fair investigation. ATV's Arthur Urkeola reports.
It happened in the middle of the chaos last night when police came down hard on pro-democracy protesters, blocking the road outside the chief executive's office at Tamar. This video taken during the crackdown has been met with public shock and outrage. It shows plainclothes officers wearing police vests dragging a protester to a dark and secluded corner where he is repeatedly punched, kicked, and stomped on while lying on the ground in handcuffs. The man in the video was identified as Ken Tsang, a social worker and well-known activist from the Civic Party. He was reported to have been standing on the edge of a wall from where he taunted police below by throwing water at them on Lunghwa Road before he was taken away by officers. Tsang was arrested for unlawful assembly and obstructing the police. Photographs released later showed Tsang with bruises on his face and back. It's not clear what caused the round red welt seen on his back, but the Civic Party suspects he was repeatedly hit with a solid object. A lawmaker who visited Tsang after his arrest claimed officers continued to punch and slap him while he was being detained.
According to our instructions, when he was at the police station, the police continued to use unnecessary force and violence on Mr. Ken Tsang. That he was severely beaten by the police for about 4 minutes when he was outside the place of arrest, and the injuries seems to be serious.
Tsang was later taken to Ratanji Hospital for an assessment of his injuries.
The doctor explained to him and us that there are too many parts to be drawn on a paper, so he decided to take photos instead. And photos were taken, around 10 photos were taken in different parts of his body, mostly from hips up to the head.
While Tsang's supporters were making arrangements for his bail, the police force promised immediate action and an impartial investigation. A special team of people described as experienced and professional will carry out the probe.
The investigation result will be submitted to the Independent Police Complaints Council for scrutiny. If there is any criminality revealed, we will proceed the case in accordance with the laws.
Chief Executive Leung Chun-Ying would only say this much.
There's a set and an effective mechanism and procedures, a set of mechanism procedures, and these have been effective in the past to deal with complaints against the police. And we'll use the same mechanism and procedure to deal with the complaint against the policeman on the incident last night.
Security Secretary Lai Tung-kwok also promised a fair and impartial investigation, announcing that the officers involved have been relieved of their current duties and transferred to other posts. The authorities refused to give further information, apart from confirming that 7 officers, 2 inspectors and 5 constables, are being investigated. They would not explain why the officers were not immediately suspended for what appeared to be a clear case of criminal assault and dereliction of duty. Arthur Urkeola, ATV News.
Pan-Democrat lawmakers and legal experts are complaining that the police officers implicated in last night's assault have not even been suspended.
They argue that there's enough video evidence and witness testimony to justify their immediate arrest. Ken Tsang's colleagues in the Civic Party were among 22 Pan-Democratic lawmakers condemning his alleged assault and complaining that authorities were protecting the police officers involved. They called for the immediate arrest and a criminal investigation.
Ken Tsang had already been handcuffed using plastic tapes and therefore would not be able to resist the police before he was taken away to a dark corner of Tamar Park and beaten up by 6 police officers. There is also a case made out for the Director of Public Prosecution to intervene and for the IPCC to also do something.
I have alert the government that I will call on them, the relevant officer, senior government official, to resign if they do not act within a very short period of time. Because you should not wait for complaint. You should not wait for so-called taking a statement from the victim. It's a very clear case of assault, serious assault, if not a torture act.
The word among witnesses and Zhang's supporters is that he did not resist, obstruct, or threaten the police operation before his brutal treatment.
That was terrible, and I don't understand why the police could do this. And they were supposed to protect the citizen, but now they were beating the citizens.
New People's Party leader and former Security Secretary Regina Ip took the side of the police.
I'm sure the police will thoroughly investigate any allegations of unlawful assault through normal channels.
Another pro-government lawmaker, who is also the vice chairman of the Independent Police Complaints Council, urged the force to give a full explanation.
I do not agree with the violence, of course, but I believe the police have to come out to say something to clear the doubts of the public.
Legal experts say a criminal investigation should be launched by the force if there's enough evidence.
Is that once they are satisfied that there are prima facie evidence of criminal act by their officer, what they need to do is to initiate the criminal investigation procedure. They may need to caution the officers involved or even arrest them, and then later on decide whether there is sufficient evidence to prosecute them.
Several groups in the democracy camp are calling for Police Commissioner Andy Zhang to take full responsibility and step down.
Police last night used pepper spray on demonstrators for the second time since the Occupy protests began 3 weeks ago. Officers arrested 45 protesters who clashed with them while occupying the main road outside the Chief Executive's office. ATV's Winna Wang reports.
After days of relative calm at the main protest base in Admiralty, trouble broke out at around 10 o'clock last night. Police accused a handful of pro-democracy protesters of sparking the confrontation by rushing onto Longwall Road outside the Chief Executive's office, causing traffic chaos and endangering public safety. The activists were joined by reinforcements who blocked and barricaded the road, which is one of the key arteries between Wan Chai and Central. A small contingent of officers tried to beat them back using pepper spray, but they were outnumbered and forced to retreat. Then, at 2:45 this morning, it was the turn of the police to bring in reinforcements. That led to a tense standoff. Protesters raised their hands to show peaceful defiance. But it was impossible to defuse the tension. Things took a turn for the worse when police began destroying barricades. Pepper spray was used. And arrests were made. Police, protesters, and journalists alike were hit with pepper spray in the chaos. Officers tore down pavilions set up by the protesters outside the Chief Executive's office and cleared the road. They used cranes to remove barricades. Protesters looked on helplessly as police destroyed their makeshift barriers. They arrested 45 people, 37 men and 8 women aged between 17 and 54. They've been charged for unlawful assembly and obstructing police officers carrying out their duties.
They advanced forward in an aggressive manner, kicked our officers, attacked them with umbrellas, and snatched milk barriers. Even with their arms raised, this just could hardly be a peaceful means of protest.
Officers abandoned their stiff upper lip image to show they have emotions too, celebrating their victory and taking souvenir photographs at the scene. During the day, there was still a heavy police presence, making sure traffic was not obstructed on Longwall Road. The area resembled the aftermath of a battleground. Winna Wong, ATV News.
Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying has called off his question and answer session in LegCo tomorrow, citing security concerns after the recent chaos at Tamar. No new date is set for the quarterly session, and pan-democratic lawmakers are already accusing Leung of hiding from the public. ATV's Raymond Young reports.
The chief executive is already under fire for opting to address the public with video messages on his blog and giving closed-door interviews. Now Leung Chun-ying is facing flack from lawmakers after he denied them the chance to question him directly. The chief executive's office announced at 3:30 p.m. that tomorrow's question and answer session has been called off, citing security and risk assessments in light of serious incidents last night around Longwall Road. It also noted calls among protesters to surround the LegCo complex tomorrow, when top officials and executive councillors were also scheduled to turn up. Leung himself defended the decision to cancel the LegCo showdown. We believe it is not a suitable time to go ahead with the session, especially when it may trigger large-scale protests outside LegCo, he said. Leung insisted it was not an excuse to avoid a face-to-face meeting with pan-democratic legislators who were expected to give him a grilling. We do not want to see police enforce order by force or engage in physical contact with the protesters, he argued. Leung insisted he was still very willing to attend, saying it wouldn't hurt to push the meeting back a few days, although no date was announced. Beijing loyalists welcomed the decision.
I think because of the security reason, I think even though you defer the meeting, I think it is appropriate.
But radical lawmaker Leung Kwok-hung pointed out that hundreds of police officers on duty should be enough to ensure the chief executive's safety. He and his pan-democratic colleagues are accusing Leung Chun-ying of being afraid to face the public and spending most of his time in hiding. Raymond Young, ATV News.